may not be suitable for all audiences.
School, a noble institution. What would this stupid world be without it?
Art 101 with Mr. Burgher.
Scholars, welcome back to another episode of Art 101 with me, Mr. Burgher. I'm a professional artist and a master educator who attempts to provide you with the best in art historical content. If you like the content, it's free. All you have to do is subscribe, click the buttons, ring the bells, do the things, and it's yours.
I'm always frank and earnest with women. In New York, I'm frank. In Chicago, I'm earnest.
Now, I don't know how often it happens, but every now and again, we'll be talking about colors, and a student will ask me, "Hey, Mr. Burgher, what's your favorite color?" And we'll start talking about different things, and they'll say, "Well, my favorite color is black," and I'll say, "Well, technically, black's not a color," and so we get into a conversation about that. So I thought, hey, why not explain a little bit about black? So, during the medieval times, there was a plague that killed more than a third of the Europeans' population. When we talk about folklore, it's unlucky for a certain type of cat to cross your path, or we think of witches practicing a certain type of magic, or creatures from certain lagoons coming to get us. All of these things have negative connotations in Western culture, and it really hasn't always been that way. So whether we're talking about Black Death, black cats, black magic, or the Black Lagoon, black has a little bit more colorful history than you might think about right off the top of your noggin.
Sir, I don't understand.
That's glaringly apparent.
Black itself isn't really even a color, but I'll get back to that as we go forward. If we go all the way back to the beginning of art, prehistoric art certainly used its fair share of oxides and umbers, brown, but it also used its fair share of black, combining charcoal with various forms of manganese oxides that were available. Cave paintings of lions, horses, rhinoceros, and so forth was very prominent and prevalent in multiple caves all across Europe and Asia. The use of black was not limited to cave paintings. It was also used in unfired clay vessels with slips that were etched into the prehistoric works, as well as in Chinese artworks that used solid black inks made from soot and animal components that became very, very popular by 200 BC. Now, at some point, the use of these black art materials transitioned from something positive to something negative. Before the Middle Ages, it was a symbol of something positive. And it all kind of ended around the 12th century when there was a huge dispute between two groups of monks. One group of monks wore black robes to signify their humility, and they were called out by another group of monks that wore white robes. Now, the white-robed monks said that they were being prideful, and I'll kind of get into why they were being called prideful in a moment, but in the end, the argument escalated to the point of the black-robed monks being considered evil, and that began to see itself into the artworks as black representing evil and hell and things of that nature. And that continued on into the Renaissance, where black and evil began to somewhat be interchangeable, and we start to see things like witchcraft and black magic and things like that being synonymous. However, this is more of a European idea, not a global ideal, as other cultures in Asia and other parts of the world did not see black quite the same way as Europeans saw it. But at any rate, why was the black robe seen the way that it was? It all goes back to the process of making a garment black. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of dye, a lot of effort to turn something white completely black. We see this happen specifically in 1603 when Queen Elizabeth I passed away and they had her funeral. The royals wanted to show their remorse in the most extreme way, and so they paid a lot of money to have their clothing dyed black to mourn her passing. And so the monks going further back took a lot of effort and a lot of expense in turning their robes black, so therefore the idea that this was a little bit more lavish. As we get more and more to the 19th century, black clothing becomes a little bit cheaper, and we don't have that social class situation as you had way back in the 16th century or the 12th century or beyond. Through synthetics, Banta black has been created, and it is the blackest black ever created by humans, and it reflects only 1% of light that it absorbs. But it also raises the question, is black a color?
No.
No. No.
Yeah.
No.
No!
When we're talking about the spectrum of light, black is the absence of light. And because light is required to have color, black contains no color. So therefore, when we're talking of the spectrum of colors, white is the total presence of all colors. But that again is exclusive to the spectrum of colors. Now let's talk a little bit more about black in a color artistic sense of color.
Lie become truth only if person wanna believe it.
Now, black as a pigment objectively exists. Due to its visual existence and its use to create depth and contrast, so forth, some people claim that it is a color, but technically it is not a color. It is classified as a shade and only augments color. So if you were to put it into a color scheme, it would oftentimes be used in a chromatic color scheme, which basically means that it's without hue or color, along with others like white and gray. Side note, nothing in nature can really be black, as there is always some light present. And so many artists like Claude Monet refused to use a lot of black in many of his artworks because it was not realistic and it always had to be blended or mixed with something else to make it more visually realistic.
Another masterpiece ruined.
So hopefully at the end of the day, this helps you get a little bit more background knowledge on black as the thing that it appears to be. Now I hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed being able to bring it to you. You have yourself a good day, and we'll see you next time.
He made me see the world in an entirely new light.